Hola muchachos! In today's lesson, you are going to learn about a group of IR verbs that have a stem change in the preterite tense. Please note that you will need to memorize the verbs that have this spelling change. Make sure to take good notes to help you practice with these spelling changing verbs in the past tense. First, let's talk about AR and ER verbs. There are some AR and ER verbs that change their stem in the shape of a boot in the present tense. You might think that these verbs will have a stem change in the preterite tense too. However, they do not have a stem change in the preterite. They are conjugated like other regular AR and ER preterite verbs. There are also some IR verbs that stem change in the shape of a boot in the present tense. And these verbs do have a stem change in the preterite tense. However, they will have a stem change in a different way. IR verbs will stem change in the preterite tense as either E to I or O to U. This means that IR verbs that stem changed E to I or E to IE in the present tense will change E to I in the preterite tense. It also means that IR verbs that stem changed O to UE in the present tense will change O to U in the preterite tense. It is important to point out that these stem changes in the preterite tense will only occur in the él, ella, usted, and in the ellos, ellas, ustedes forms. In fact, you may hear teachers refer to these verbs as cigar verbs because if you were to draw a circle around the bottom two forms of your verb chart where the stem change occurs, it would form the shape of a cigar. Notice also that these IR stem changing cigar verbs still use the regular IR preterite tense endings. That's I, iste, yo, imos, istes, ieron. Don't forget to include an accent mark on the yo form and on the él, ella, usted forms. Let's look at the verb servir, which means to serve in English. Servir stem changes E to I in the present tense in the shape of a boot. Because servir is an IR verb, it will also stem change in the preterite tense from E to I, but in the shape of a cigar when you look at the verb chart. That is why the stem change only occurs in the bottom two verb conjugations of this chart, sirvió and sirvieron. There are other verbs that follow the same pattern as the verb servir. Some examples are repetir, to repeat, preferir, to prefer, pedir, to ask for, competir, to compete, seguir, to continue or follow, and vestirse, to get dressed. Now let's look at one more example, the verb dormir, to sleep. Dormir stem changes O to UE in the present tense. Remember, in the present tense, the spelling change will form the shape of a boot in the verb chart. Because dormir is an IR verb, it will also stem change in the preterite, but it will change O to U, not O to UE. Also, notice again that the stem change only occurs in the bottom two verb conjugations of the verb chart, with durmió and durmieron making the shape of a cigar in the verb chart. Another verb that follows the same pattern as dormir is the verb morir, which means to die. Now let's try some practice. Pause this video now and complete the following sentences using the correct preterite conjugations. Now you can check for understanding of this concept by comparing your answers you wrote down with the correct answer shown here. Muchas gracias por tu atención. Hasta luego.